Hello, welcome back to my channel, Close Reading with me, Dr. Octavia Cox, and today is going to be a really fun, I hope, romp through some of Austen's most playful lines, I think, in Northanger Abbey. If you like this video, do please subscribe and hit the thumbs up. So Northanger Abbey, as you can see from this title page here, was published along with Persuasion. It was actually published after Austen had died. So Austen had died in July 1817. And as you can see on the title page here, this says it was published in 1818. In fact, it was published in December 1817. But the point is, it was published after Austen died. But it was actually written much, much earlier, about 20 years earlier, in the late 1790s, when Austen was in her early 20s. And Northanger Abbey is sometimes described as immature, but I prefer to think of it as kind of rambunctious and playful and youthful in style. And today I want to look at some of the ways in which Austen plays with novelistic convention and the ways that Austen deconstructs the novel genre in Northanger Abbey and asks readers to think about and challenge their own perceptions of what they think a novel is and should be. And this is just as relevant in her later fiction. The questions that Austen poses might be more obvious and overt in Northanger Abbey, but they continue into what is often called her mature fiction. So that's the fiction that she wrote and published while she was alive and living at Chawton. So let's have a look then at some of Austen's playfulness. Here is Catherine engrossed in her Gothic novel, The Mysteries of Udolpho by Anne Radcliffe. Anne Radcliffe was really the mother of the Gothic genre in the 1790s, and The Mysteries of Udolpho was published in 1794. So a contemporary novel when Austen first drafted Northanger Abbey. So really we can see Northanger Abbey as a kind of up-to-date literary satire. And one of the questions that Austen seems to pose is, should silly young girls be dissuaded from reading silly Gothic novels? And this is a question that I'll address in more detail in another video, but I do really think it's worth pondering. Does Northanger Abbey condemn the Gothic novel? Do we really think that Austen would write a novel that straightforwardly condemns young girls who read novels? So Austen's playfulness starts from the very opening lines of Northanger Abbey. No one who had ever seen Catherine Morland in her infancy would have supposed her to be born a heroine. And this is such a playful introduction to a novel because from the very opening sentence then, Austen confronts the reader. You're reading a novel, you have expectations as to what a heroine should be and do, and I'm going to challenge those expectations. And she continues to subvert readerly expectations of what a heroine should be. She was fond of all boys' plays and greatly preferred cricket, not merely to dolls, but to the more heroic enjoyments of infancy. And again, we've got that kind of literary allusion in heroic. We've got this idea of expecting what heroic is and what it ought to be. So the heroic enjoyments of infancy, nursing a dormouse, feeding a canary bird, or watering a rosebush. Because of course, proper feminine heroines, and indeed all young ladies generally, and young female readers too, are supposed to enjoy domestic nurturing activities like nursing a dormouse, feeding birds, watering roses, etc. So just a few months before she died, Austen would go on to write to her niece in March 1817, when explaining her own ideas of novels and heroines, that pictures of perfection, as you know, make me sick and wicked. And indeed, none of Austen's heroines are what we would think of as typically novelistic pictures of perfection. They all make mistakes, they all behave badly, and they all behave wrong-headedly. And Catherine Morland is absolutely no exception. And Austen's challenging of readers continues into the very closing lines of the novel. I leave it to be settled by whomever it may concern, whether the tendency of this work be altogether to recommend parental tyranny, so that's General Tilney, or reward filial, so filial means kind of relating to offspring, reward filial disobedience, so Henry Tilney going against his father in marrying Catherine. Austen plays on the ideas that novels should have clear morals, the tendency of this work. Novels were supposed to sort of lay down the moral law for the readers. And we can see this, for example, in Samuel Richardson. So Samuel Richardson was one of Austen's favourite 18th century novelists, and one of his most popular was Pamela or Virtue Rewarded, which was published in 1740. And you can tell just from the subtitle there, the kind of heavy moral that's laid down from the very beginning, from the very title. It's clear that there is a sense that the duty of beautiful young damsels, which you can see there, and that means the heroine, of course, but also the young female readers who are supposed to look up to and take the morals of the beautiful young damsel heroine, that it's the duty of young girls to behave with virtue and thus be rewarded. And that, generally speaking, is the moral of novels, that the heroine or the hero behaves virtuously and they are therefore rewarded for behaving virtuously. But instead of that, Austen says, is the tendency of this work, she asks, is the tendency of this work altogether to recommend parental tyranny or reward filial disobedience? And of course, neither option is typical. Both subvert what we might expect. We might expect a novel's moral to be that it recommends parental reason or rewards filial obedience. So Austen self-consciously leaves it to be settled by whomever it may concern. So she leaves it up to the reader. The text isn't laying down the moral. The narrative voice here is saying, no, it's up to you. It's up to you to work out what that was all about. And we can see many, many examples of Austen's writerly playfulness and self-consciousness throughout Northanger Abbey, but I just want to draw your attention to this particular example because I think it's really delicious. And it's about Henry's and Catherine's relationship. It comes towards the end. I must confess that his affection originated in nothing better than gratitude, or in other words, that a persuasion of her partiality for him had been the only cause of giving her a serious thought. It is a new circumstance in romance, I acknowledge, and of course the narrative voice there is playing on both meanings of romance. So we've got romance as in a loving relationship, but also romance genre, the novel genre, and dreadfully derogatory to a heroine's dignity. But if it be as new in common life, the credit of a wild imagination will at least be all my own. So we've got the narrative voice speaking directly to the reader about the very fact that what they're reading is fiction, that it's all made up. For the narrative voice to admit openly that it was all made up, that it was all fiction, was also a new circumstance in romance. So in Richardson's Pamela, for example, which I mentioned earlier, you can see highlighted there the kind of conceit of the novel is that actually these were real letters, that there was a real person called Pamela Andrews whose letters have been found by the editor. So there's this kind of claims to truth and that this did really happen. Whereas Austen completely admits that this novel is a work of imagination. So the credit of a wild imagination will at least be all my own. And I think Austen must be credited with the imagination and indeed the kind of bravura to challenge novelistic convention. And the ways that she challenged and deconstructed 18th century novelistic convention contributed to the development of the novel form, which towards the realism, which would go on to dominate in the Victorian period. I do hope you've enjoyed running through some of Austen's self-conscious playfulness and her challenging of readers to ask themselves what they expect from a novel. Do please subscribe, do please hit the thumbs up, and check out my other videos and comment below suggesting any other Austen moments that you would like to take a closer look at.